crazy. Like, it's just an insane... I suppose that's that Frank Underwood thing. What was it called? House of Cards. I suppose House of Cards is the West Wing. Let's try...
Calling my mother. Oh?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Yes, we've done it. Right.
We have successfully
Right.
radioed.
Okay. Right, now I need my laptop back because I had a little introduction speech which I now have to do.
Okay.
Yeah, it's cute. I'm not talking into the mic anymore. Hang on. It's cute. It's cute.
Okay. I'm going to stop talking. I'm sure you're all glad. Well, actually, no. None of you have heard the literally 10 minutes of just me talking. That's just good.
Oh, my headphones only work if I hold it like this.
Okay, well that's good. That's a good start.
Okay, try again now.
Try what again now?
I'm telling my
Emma,
mom.
please listen to the show.
I'm trying to I know it does work now. So I'm trying to... Anyway, God, I hate the sound of my own voice.
This is your voice in your own ears.
A bad time to discover it. Okay. I really do have to hold the headphones like that. That is
Do you want to use mic 1? Oh no, then no one can see the screen. That's like... Hang on, is that the one you're putting?
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, okay, that works. No, it doesn't. I have to hold it like this.
Hang on.
What's wrong with it? Rob, fix it.
Okay, hang on, it's just loose in the thing.
Oh, okay. Lit. Should I do my introduction bit now?
No,
that works. That works.
That works now?
I can hear it now. Yeah. Okay. Professionalism.
I am a sound engineer.
Okay. Right. Emma is tuning in anytime now.
Emma! We're not starting with that Emma. That's the nearest of this show. This show doesn't begin until Emma tunes in.
We're going to have to cut so much of this if we ever
No, this is all staying in.
Okay, right. Are you ready? Are you ready to hear me mispronounce
Russian names?
Yes.
Yes, I am.
So... I typed this and it sounded funny, but I have written the stage instruction of Rob says something humorous. So do feel free to do that.
So I will at some point be stared at.
Okay, right. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov,
Ilyich.
better known as Lenin.
We're 5 seconds in and she's already got it wrong. That's
No, that is his real name.
Yeah, Ilyich, not Ilyich.
Do I take Russian? No, I am a French historian. Back off. Goodness me. Okay. We all know of Lenin. Well, if you had to sit through GCSE History in Britain, then you definitely do.
Yeah.
But what do we know about Lenin?
Ooh.
Hello and welcome to Off the Archive. I'm Emily and this is my glamorous assistant Rob. You've been demoted to glamorous assistant.
I was never glamorous. This is an upgrade.
That fills the Rob says something
Thank you,
humorous quota. Right. And today
I'm not going
will...
to speak again.
Shut up. And today we will be exploring... You need to remember who Stephen Fry is in this scenario. Okay? It's me.
I don't want to be... I ended up being Alan Davis.
You are totally Alan
Yeah,
Davis,
all
like
right.
the two of us. Anyway.
All right.
And today... I'm sorry, I'm distracted by just checking my mother is listening. She's the only person. Right, and today we will be exploring a little bit about the man behind the Russian Revolution. Hopefully, if Wikipedia was forthcoming. Which, it was.
Was it?
Yeah, it was, but it was only Wikipedia. Look, I've had a very long week.
The research for this one.
I had all of 45 minutes to put this together.
I'm just, spoiler alert, I don't think we're going to get too far into the history here.
She texted me to say got you.
Yay,
Cool.
Emma.
Hi, Emma.
Call in.
Well, hi, Mum.
Call in if you too want to talk to Emma. We'll relay any message.
I could literally plug her in if she calls me.
I'm not.
Don't do that, Emma.
Please don't.
Not yet. We're not advanced enough for that
we
yet.
don't know which button does what.
No, I'll work it out. But at some point, Emma, you can call in.
Yeah. I can't express to you how many dials there are in front of me and how many
in
of them
front of you?
Well, here, and I can't, all of them are off.
Yeah.
And I want to put them all on.
No, we're not touching any of them.
I want to touch
We
them
were given
all.
strict instructions.
We were literally sat down and told we weren't allowed to touch anything.
Right. Lenin.
So
Rob.
Hello.
What do you know about Lenin?
It's a weird one for me because I think a surprising amount.
Go for it.
Because I think
if you talk about his cat, I'll scream.
I know that he had one. Yeah. I think like many 14-year-olds, you either have an alt-right phase or a communism phase. Those are your only two acceptable phases.
Just pause. Emma says hi.
Hi, Emma.
Right, carry
on. And I had a communism phase, which I don't think I ever recovered from. I think I'm still in it. But I
think the poorer you get, the
more you relate
comes out. And surely, like, student is when most people are really super poor.
Yeah. So I think he started off in Russia, got kicked out for being a troublemaker, which I assume is going to happen to me any day now.
Yeah. Bye Boris Johnson's Boris Johnson's United Kingdom.
We weren't going to make it political. And then he gets. I think he hangs out in Switzerland for a while, presumably.
Does indeed. In Bern, and also Geneva.
Nice. I think he does very little. And then the only sort of interesting fact I know is that he gets sent in by the Germans. He gets like when.
That's not one of my facts. So
this is my one fact. Is that in the First World War, Germany has a brilliant idea, which is Lenin is in Switzerland and is the wrong side of the German front and wants to go back to Russia to jazz things up during the war. And the Germans are like, I know what'll make Russia drop out of the war. A Bolshevik uprising. So they just ship him over on a train and they're like, there you go. And the Russians are like, who this? I'll open like Pandora's box, and in there was Lenin, and suddenly the Russian Revolution.
Because I always thought of, I think you have the trio, right? You have Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin. Yeah,
what a squad!
Squad goals.
Historical squad.
This is the fam. I always thought
we're gonna get shut down.
I always thought of Lenin as the I don't know what I thought, but of him as the least problematic.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know why. And then in doing some research, I have realised...
Is he actually the crazy one?
Well, they are all inherently problematic. There is no non-problematic one. I don't know why my silly GCSE...
They were all kind of dictators. I mean, it's...
Yeah, Okay, so, should we start with my...
Yeah, go.
First fact. Did you know that Lenin was... Okay, this is... I'm trying to find a way to phrase this. Because Lenin had Jewish ancestry.
Right.
He was not Jewish, but his grandfather was Jewish.
Okay.
Fun fact,
How fun is this fact? Because the Holocaust is about to happen, isn't it?
Okay, stop spoiling my fact. So basically, when Stalin was in charge, one of the ladies in the party, sorry, I forget her name, but she wrote to Stalin saying, can you please make it public knowledge that Lenin had Jewish ancestry. I'm saying Jewish ancestry, not that he was Jewish, because it came through the male line.
Yeah.
Which my understanding of Judaism is that unless it's through the female line, he's not Jewish. But they wrote to Stalin, she wrote to Stalin saying, please make it public knowledge. It would really help the Jewish cause. And he wrote, he burnt her letter and said, under no circumstances is anyone allowed to know.
Right.
So sorry, Stalin, but Emma knows. So, you've already lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what have you done?
Nothing.
What have you done?
Nothing. I dropped something. I dropped it again. It's fine. I'm a professional. I've got this, this is a tangent from Lenin. I've got this square water bottle. And it's great. You can get it. I think they're like, it's a company.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's really expensive. I got this for free, but I'm not being paid by whoever these make. But they're really cool and they fit in your bag. The problem is they fall over all the time.
Well, why don't you just put it on the table?
Because I got told not to put it in the water near the equipment.
Oh, did we?
I think so.
I mean, it makes sense.
It does make sense.
Okay.
I'll put it down.
Put it down on the floor.
Put it down. Anyway, Lenin.
Lenin. I got anything to say about that, or do you want the next fact?
No, I mean, it's sort of it's odd because you do get a sort of Jewish suppression in the later Soviet years for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about current Russia. I suppose I'm not allowed to know about current Russia, but
I think we should avoid talking about current Russia.
Nothing happened after 1980 in Russia, as far as this podcast is concerned.
One day I might want to go to Russia, and I don't want this held against me. So let's just talk about Lenin, shall we?
Should we talk about? I mean, yeah, but you know what I was is that like there is a Jewish suppression, and it would have been a very interesting thing if in like the 50s, because Lenin is like weird, like revered.
Well, it's the cult of personality.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, isn't he?
I'm not going to say that. I thought about saying that, and I was like, controversial.
Don't say that. I don't know what it was, but don't say it.
Don't say it.
But I think isn't his brain got sliced up into like hundreds of pieces. It's just no, because the idea was that he was so brilliant that his brain must hold like great insight. He was
actually really intelligent.
He was a clever man.
He got a first from his university despite being exiled for being a political activist many times.
I can't get a first now.
But that this leads into my next point, which is, do you know he comes from a noble family?
What?
His parents were monarchists.
What?
He is he's a hereditary lord, I believe. He might have been I'm just going to double check this. He might have been a hereditary prince, I'm not sure. No, he's just a hereditary nobleman, I think.
He's Hang on.
So... He's
Lord Lenin?
He was a hereditary nobleman, Vladimir Ulyanov. That was his name. And then he changed it to Lenin. But yeah, he's
understandably, when you want to start a Bolshevik uprising.
His father, basically, was in charge of school inspections, as far as my understanding goes.
Yeah.
And he was so good at it, and he made such a difference.
He was the best Ofsted inspector in the world.
Yeah, basically. He made such a difference to the Russian education system that, as a reward, they made him a nobleman. Yeah. And a hereditary nobleman, which is like big because he can pass it on to his children. And they had a massive estate. It was, I think, how did you pronounce his middle name?
Ilyich.
Yeah, I think it was the Ilyich estate. I can't remember exactly.
God.
Yeah. And both a quote from his father, he saw it as his job to protect the youth from radicalism. Yeah. Yeah.
So Lenin's dad went into schools and stopped Lenin of the past.
Yes. So Lenin's father died when he was 15. So never actually saw his son become... which I think is for the best.
Can you imagine?
Because I don't think he'd have liked it. But yeah, they were massive monarchists. They were part of the Tsar's government, a massive part. It was expected that Lenin would go on to be a part of the Tsar's government.
See, this is why he gets exiled to Switzerland to hang out.
This is the thing. The reason he was so he got kicked out of, I think it was Kazdan. I don't think I'm pronouncing that right.
Joe will tune in and tell us that.
Joe's in Russia. You don't understand that reference. Joe is in Russia right now.
Joe is in Russia.
It was the same university his father went to, Kazan University, right? He got kicked out of it for being a political radical. Yeah. And his mother was considered so influential as a hereditary nobleman's widow that she was able to write to the university and convince them to let him sit his exams at the University of St. Petersburg independently from everyone else. And that's how he walked away with the first and a law degree.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So he's not a poor boy.
So...
Yeah, you'd like digesting
so... Okay, imagine...
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're a really good Ofsted inspector.
Yeah.
And you go into schools and you're like, stop this radicalism in my schools. And the schools are like, whoa, okay, Mr. Brilliant Ofsted Inspector.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so good that the Queen comes up to you and is like, very well done. Here is Buckinghamshire. And you're like, lit, I love Buckinghamshire. So you hang out there, you have a child, and then you're like, you're on your deathbed, but it's fine because you know that your son will carry on your Ofsted inspecting legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And he too will suppress radicalism in the Tsar's government and ensure stability. And he's Lenin.
I mean, this is unrelated to everything you just said and everything I just said, and it's not one of my facts, but can we talk about the fact that they used to call him Volodya, which is it's a diminutive for Vladimir, so he's like little baby Volodya, which is like quite cute.
That's like, it's like calling him Bertie.
But it's like when you realise that I've told you this fact so many times, Rob, but I haven't told Emma.
You haven't told it on radio.
yeah. I haven't told the world. So the reason Voltaire may have chosen the name Voltaire, now this is complete
speculation.
Speculation, that's the word I'm looking for.
Not Emily speculation. It should be worth it. She hasn't just said this right now.
It's
someone who knows what they're talking about.
Historiographical debate why Voltaire chose the name Voltaire, but one of the reasons suggested is that Voltaire was the nickname that his mother and sister used to call him because it sounds like Little Determined One.
That's so cute.
I know, it's real cute.
And then he went on to write some philosophy.
Some stuff that actually really influenced racialist theory in the 20th century. So,
sorry.
Anyway.
Do you know why Lenin's called Lenin?
Why is Lenin called Lenin?
I think this is true.
Mm-hmm. Well,
because
I've read a whole page, so I'll be able to tell you if you're wrong.
Is it the river?
Might be. It didn't mention it.
It was because I think
Wikipedia doesn't know.
I think what happened was that there was, because obviously as a revolutionary, your big badge of honour was that you'd been sent to a gulag, and then escaped from it.
Yes.
Trotsky is called Trotsky because he stole a guard's ID to get
Trotsky,
out.
yeah,
So
that's true.
And then he looked at the name. Stalin. See, it's either Stalin or Lenin. I think it's Lenin.
I think Joseph Stalin is actually Stalin's name.
I think it might just be his actual name. Stalin didn't get a cool nickname.
He had a cool name already.
He was cool enough. Okay.
Controversial.
Valid. I'm sorry. But Lenin, I think, was named after a river. It was the Lenin River where he was doing hard labour.
Oh, intriguing.
I think that's where he got the name from.
Intriguing.
Yeah.
Do you want my next?
Yeah.
Cultivated
Hit me.
So his brother was also a revolutionary. Did you know that?
No.
His brother was hung for being a revolutionary when he was, I think, 15.
Oof.
And he was his favourite older brother. He used to call him Sasha.
What?
Is it like a nickname?
Okay, cute.
But he was.
Are you telling me that Lenin had two nicknames through his life? One of them was Lenin and the other one was Sasha?
No, the older brother.
Well, the other brother was called Sasha. I was like, that would have been much better.
No, Sasha.
All hail Sasha.
No, so what happened was he was studying. I think he was actually studying at the University of St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
And he was part of a radical political group. And these people were not messing around. They tried to assassinate the Tsar.
Alexander the Third?
No, Nicholas, isn't it?
Was it Nicholas? Did they try to assassinate Nicholas II?
Is it Nicholas at this point?
I think
maybe it's his father. Maybe it's Alexander the Third.
I think it was Alexander the Third.
Possibly. I don't know. I really only know St. Nicholas II and Catherine the Great. It was a long time ago.
We've currently got a series on Sky, which is very good.
It is very good. It's confusing. You do need to know all the names.
You need a degree in Russian history in order
to understand it, but it's fun. No, so he was in charge of making the bomb.
Oh.
Yeah, and they found him, and unsurprisingly, he was not treated kindly for that, and he was hung. Yeah. I
mean, as an authoritarian government, you do kind of have to kill the guy that was making the bomb to kill the autocrat. You're not really an autocratic government if you don't do that.
But that was a big influence on Lenin, as was his mother's atheism.
Really?
In fact, yeah, because his father was very strict Orthodox Russian, but his mother was
his poor dad, man.
His mother, who's the one who's half
not Jewish through the maternal
Jewish
line.
Descent. Yeah, her father was Jewish.
Yeah,
she identified as Lutheran.
Ew.
Yeah, but she wasn't.
Was that for census reasons?
No, she was German.
Ah, I see.
Half German, half Jewish.
Is that why he gets sent to Switzerland? Did she because you sort of... I mean, I don't know if he gets sent to Switzerland or gets sent to Germany. I think it gets sent out of Russia. He might get sent...
He follows the newspaper. Iskra? Iskra? Is that how you say it?
Yeah,
Irska or something?
Iskra, I can't remember.
Something Russian.
Joe!
Joe, help!
We should never have done Lenin first. Lenin.
We should have started with something where we could pronounce the names. Right, okay. Another fun fact. This one's actually fun. This one isn't sad. Like that one was.
I don't know, the Ofsted inspector one was fun.
I know, right? So, his headmaster was a man called Fedor Kerensky.
Yeah.
Do you know who Alexander Kerensky was?
He believed he was part of the provisional government.
He was indeed. And he was one of Lenin's main opponents.
Yeah.
Yeah. So his father was Lenin's headmaster. And Lenin's headmaster, so Fedor Kerensky, thought that he was a brilliant student, a model student in fact, and expected him to become a Tsarist bureaucrat, like his father. He gave him a gold medal when he left school.
Give him a gold? What?
Yeah, for being amazing as a
What?
student. They apparently was really fond of him.
Can you imagine? You get to the end of like year 6.
Yep.
And your head. I mean, my headmistress was insane. I don't know about yours. I think all primary school headmistresses are crazy.
Mr. Patton, I think it's Mr. Patterson. If you're listening, you were a G.
Yeah. Corbett, if you're listening, you were not a G. You were an un-G.
I think I once vomited on the second headmaster I had at primary school, Mrs. Day. I'm sorry, Mrs. Day. I'm pretty sure I vomited on you when you were deputy headmistress in early years. I was very unwell, though.
I mean, clearly.
Let me live. Let me live. Okay.
So, okay, you're like, you're in year 6, you vomited on this woman once, and she comes up to you like,
I think
specifically.
I think it's year 13.
Okay.
I think we're talking. I think it's like secondary school.
Okay.
I can't be sure, but I'm pretty sure.
I think that's still weirder. I think it's, can you like the whole school is brought and you're like, and now the annual award for person who is Lenin award, and you just be like, Lenin, it is you, come here and have this one medal. Everybody clap for Lenin.
Can you imagine being Alexander Kerensky? Like, that would grate with you forever, I think. You'd be sat in the provisional government like, you didn't deserve that medal.
Although, if I was Lenin, when I eventually overthrew the provisional government, I would wear my medal on the way in to storm. I would wear it, and they would be like, what gives you the right? What gives you the right to have the government? He was like, well, the father of the current Prime Minister thought I was brilliant.
I'm sorry, again, this is completely unrelated, but I think one of the funniest things I read is that there was a spy, I believe, in the Bolshevik Party that was reporting back to one of the other revolutionary groups.
Yeah.
The details escape me because I didn't write it down. But the thing is, like, everyone has thought that Lenin had suspicions and was using him as like a double agent, was like manipulating him. But apparently Lenin himself was like, I never saw that slime. I threw that slime ball. I'm such an idiot. And I thought that was really apparently it really rankled with him.
He just never knew.
He never worked out that was a spy.
I love the idea.
There it is. Here it is. I never saw through that scoundrel Malinowski. And it's like, wow.
Also, hang on a minute. If you are Lenin in this is like King Canute and the Sea. This is like, if you are Lenin, everyone's like, Lenin's onto him. Aren't you a Lenin? And you're like, yeah, I'm I know. I've been playing him this whole time. I have been feeding him Cluedo clues for years.
Oh,
Don't
dear.
come out and be like, I was fooled by this idiot that everyone else had worked out.
Well, no one worked it out. No one knew until they discovered him.
Well, I mean, that's the case with all spies.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I think that's fair. Okay, this one is another fun fact. He once sued a family of peasants during a famine for damages to his family gentry land.
Oh, for God's sake.
Because apparently they had damaged the land. So during a famine, he sued them. Peasants, because he's a very good lawyer. He's really not the communist hero I thought he was going to be.
But it's also that, like, I feel like what we're working out with Lenin is that there was two very distinct paths that this could have gone down. And one of them is Harvey Specter from Suits.
Honestly, I think if they hadn't killed his brother,
He might have.
he might have just.
But also, if we're talking about he was brilliant, he would have been in the Tsarist government, and there wouldn't have been a as strong of a personality cult around the Bolshevik government, there probably wouldn't have been a revolution.
No, because Trotsky and Lenin were very much a pair.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
also
this is
Trotsky's
a lot of
Trotsky's not
prospecting.
very charismatic.
Trotsky was always my favourite.
Really?
And I say that, when I say favourite, I think it's worth explaining.
Really?
As history students, you tend to, latch on to certain historical figures. It doesn't mean you like them. It doesn't mean you approve of what they did. It just means that you're
we're going to get taken off the air after episode 1. This is
I always had a thing with, I really liked FDR. FDR is one of those historical figures where I'm I know a lot about him.
Yes.
And, Trotsky, out of the three of them, was the one where I was yeah, Trotsky.
Yeah. Because he got an ice pick in the back of the head.
Also, he just looked the nicest in the pictures.
Young Joseph Stalin.
Young Joseph Stalin was the most attractive.
Yes.
What I'm saying is that Trotsky, with his little glasses, looked the least offensive. He's proper wild. He goes off and is horrendous, isn't it? He gets the Oriental Express
in the
and
war.
just takes the Red Army and slaughters people.
Well, he had it was a really good, it's a really clever battle strategy because obviously the Russians just before the First World War, the French had given them a load of money because the French were allies with them and they thought they should probably have some kind of proper infrastructure in Russia. So the French gave them a ton of money to build railroads, and they basically, on most of the western side of Russia, they just built the Trans-Siberian Railway. And
that's the Trans-Siberian Railway.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. Not the Orient.
Not the Orient Express. I'm
sorry.
But yeah, so they built this railway, and then when the Russian Civil War was on, Trotsky used the railway to move troops around. Yeah. But also, he had his own train that came with...
Yes, I knew that.
Yeah, he had his own train that came with supplies and I believe pornography.
I didn't know that.
I think...
They didn't teach me that in GCSE.
Yeah, I think Trotsky's train came with a certain amount of...
I cannot validate this.
I can't...
This, as far as I'm concerned, Rob is speculating.
I'm not speculating. I believe I'm recalling incorrectly. But I know Trotsky's train was whack. There were some whack things on that train.
I'm so glad we didn't invite a guest on this one.
Yeah. We might have guests at some point.
We might. I'm pushing for us to invite lecturers on.
Emily is
hilarious.
Emily is insane and thinks that it would be a good idea to try to involve actual adults in this.
I think it should never be on a topic they know much about. I think it's genius. I think you invite a really respected historian on gender studies and bring them in to talk about big man politics in the 1500s.
No, I think we should bring in medievalists and make them talk about modern history.
We can also do that.
That would be funny.
I'm here for trying to get random people I think we should start with GTAs. That's what I'm saying. I think we should start with GTAs and build up.
None of this is broadcastable. None of this.
Too late. It's broadcast.
Too late. It's on the record now.
It's on the record.
Emma
now.
knows.
It's on the archive.
Roll credits.
But okay, this is not the only time Lenin sued someone that everyone has pointed out.
Okay.
I've
totally forgotten that Lenin was the...
Yeah, he was suing peasants. He also once sued a Parisian motorist for knocking him off his bike. And apparently he hated Paris, and he called it a foul hole. It was his least favourite of the cities that he had to run to.
Really?
So, yeah, he hated Paris.
I get that.
I mean, I don't. I love Paris.
I know you love Paris.
But,
I don't know what Paris was like in these... I mean, Paris was, famously beautiful forever.
It's going to be the Third Republic. Yeah, the Third Republic. So it's peak Republican France, really. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So it was nice.
It was nice. And a lot of salons.
They had a bit of money.
Cafes.
They were about to be invaded by Germany, but it was, it was...
But not for about 15 years.
There was some time.
To be fair. There
was some time before they burnt France to the ground.
Lots of prostitution in Paris at that time. Fun fact. Anyway.
A lot of these fun facts will be sexual.
That's because that's my specialty.
Yes. I don't know if it had been made clear, and I'm not sure Emily's ever told Emma, but...
No, Emma knows.
Emma knows is that Emily is somehow a historian of sex.
I am, indeed.
Yes, because you're a nerd.
Because I'm a nerd. It's the most interesting area. I'm sorry. Anyone else who's not studying it, you're losing. You're losing history.
You're studying war? Have you tried studying dicks?
You can't
I can say that. That's allowed.
That is illegal. We will have to bleep that out on the podcast.
No, Karen, that's illegal.
Shut up. Okay, right. Oh, I can't remember what I said because you said that and I freaked out.
The second time he sued someone was in Paris with the bike.
Yes.
That's where we were.
Yes. Yeah.
So someone knocked him off.
Someone knocked him off his bicycle and he sued him.
Can you imagine Lenin on a bike?
Can we talk about the fact he was in exile, living under a fake name, I believe, at this time?
Because the French probably
hiding
wouldn't have had
in Paris.
Yeah.
I assume his law degree wasn't valid in Paris.
I mean, it probably was.
I mean, I don't... Because he knows Russian law, right?
I don't know how...
He took the law... He took the bar or whatever the Russian equivalent of the bar is. He took it...
Whatever the Russian equivalent of the bar was in 1900.
Yeah. Well, it's like 18... sometime in the late 1800s. And he went to Paris and I assume therefore risked being exposed to be like, this man, he hit me with his car.
This man knocked me with his car.
Yeah, motorist. Yeah.
The car was better. The car was 5 minutes old. Was he hit by the first one?
It says motorist.
Did Henry Ford?
What do you want me to say?
Did Henry Ford come along?
It says motorist.
Hit Lenin.
I imagine this will be like either really 1890s or 1900s.
I think that is proof of time travel.
No, it's 1900s or 1890s.
Yeah, no, I think someone came back in a Honda Civic to try and kill Lenin. That's my only explanation.
Well, he sued them.
He sued the time travelers.
Successfully.
They let him do it.
Yeah, it's wild. They also let him sue the peasants. I don't think we should forget that. I think I should keep bringing up every 5 minutes.
We should remember
that he sued
that
peasants.
Lenin sued peasants during a famine. Yeah. And his dad was an Ofsted inspector, and that instantly brings him down in everyone's estimations.
Apparently he was the best of the best.
Being the best of the best Ofsted inspector is a reverse curve. It makes you less cool. It's better to be a bad Ofsted inspector.
You are so bad
I'm
at
not
this.
good at not sweering, guys.
Have to bleep.
I'm gonna get a button.
How will we ever get on Spotify if you behave like this? I'm gonna have to, every time I think you're gonna swear, I'm just gonna have to cut off your mic. Okay.
If you're hearing this in 3 years and it's been uploaded somewhere and suddenly half of me talking has been cut out.
What if we're like 3 years from now we're famous as those podcast people?
Okay, let's not even. This is pure nonsense. What's
the word? Is pure like self-fulfillment or whatever.
Yeah. Self-indulgence.
Self-indulgence. That's the phrase.
If anyone's listening to this, stop. This is not what this is for.
You're not supposed to listen.
No one is supposed to listen to this.
We're just supposed to talk. Yeah, but then that was what the Jen and Julian podcast was like at the start.
Right.
I went back to try and listen to the first episode, and you can't. It's bad.
It's impossible.
But then, you never know. We might become amazing at this.
We might actually learn what some of these dials do in front of my face.
Look, let's not go too far. I'm hoping we'll get to the point where we need a producer, and we won't ever have to learn all those dials.
That is ideal, actually.
I told you. Right. Okay. So my last fact.
You got one last fact.
Drag this one out.
There we go. Yeah.
Drag this one out for 20 minutes.
We've got to finish 5 minutes before, so we got.
This is true. And I kind of want to pick the next person on.
We're going to do it live.
Yeah. Okay.
Better not. We haven't actually. We'll do that later. We'll do your fact first, and then we'll explain how we're picking people.
Okay. Yeah. We do need to. Why we started with Lenin? We didn't.
We never explained. Which I suppose you might think this is a podcast all about Lenin. Which I suppose we never.
We never really experienced.
We never explained that. We're not good at this.
This is the. Oh, I just hit the mic. I can't be good. This is our.
Do your fact. We can do it.
Let us live. Okay. Have you ever heard of Nadezhda Krupskaya?
The name rings a bell, actually.
Take a wild stab in the dark. You should be able to tell what gender they are from the name.
Yeah,
if you know anything about Cyrillic names. Yes, it is indeed a woman.
Krupskaya? Krupskaya.
As far as I know.
Either, and this could just be because I've been watching Chernobyl not that long ago, but was she one of the female scientists from...
How does that relate back to Lenin, Rob?
I don't know.
Rob, think about it.
I think Krupskaya was in it. Otherwise, she might have been a Bolshevik Party member who was in the Politburo.
She was indeed a Bolshevik Party
see,
member who was in the Politburo. However, you're wrong. That's not who she... This is not why I'm bringing her up.
No.
But she was indeed
Well, then I'm not wrong.
She was indeed a member of the Politburo.
Trying to guess your motivations is like trying to catch a fish in syrup. It's just not going to happen.
She was Lenin's wife.
She was Lenin's wife?
Nadezhda Krupskaya.
I kind of forget Lenin had a wife. I only
know
he had a cat.
So it's like controversial. No one's sure if it was a marriage of convenience, because basically they were both in prison, right, for political activism.
Yeah.
Lenin got sent to Siberia, and apparently neither of them talked about their personal lives very much.
Yeah.
So information is dodgy at best. But Lenin, sir.
I need to Google something. I need to Google something for the
next. He is on his phone. He is not paying attention. Have you ever seen Alan Davis do this on QI? I don't think so.
All right. I might have to Google something in a minute to just remember something.
Okay. So, see, I've lost my train. So he was exiled to Siberia.
Yeah.
And apparently she didn't really like him when she first met him. But that is all we know. And then suddenly...
and then they were married.
Yeah, well, basically, he sent her a letter in prison, I think in code, I'm not sure, saying that she needs to pretend to be his fiancée, because then they'll let her out of prison and send her to Siberia with him. Which is better than prison, apparently.
Is it?
I don't know. So
he said it was.
Yeah, he was already in Siberia, and so she did. She pretended to be his fiancée, and they said, "Well, okay, we'll let you out on the condition that you get married straight away." So they got married straight away, but no one's sure if it was a marriage of convenience, because if it was, they never got divorced. Like,
Lenin was a busy man, didn't have time.
She never, and they lived together the whole, like, they moved around with each other. She moved to every country with him.
Maybe.
She had a thyroid problem, and he paid, like, Lenin was a rich man.
Well, his dad was an Ofsted inspector.
Yeah, yeah. So, like, they paid for an expensive operation to remove, like, a growth from her thyroid.
Yeah.
In Bern, and he moved different places because of his wife's health. Like, he prioritized it.
My God.
Yeah, but it's interesting. Anyway, that's not why I brought her up. Do you want to know her legacy? The most important thing because she was responsible for, like, organizing the party, right, and reading the secret letters, and administration side of it. And I think she became education secretary in 1920. She originally sided with Stalin in the Trotsky-Stalin debate, and then
other Soviet leaders are available.
She is quoted as saying, no one is sure if this is true, but she is quoted by, I believe, Trotsky's son, as saying that had Lenin lived, then Stalin would have ousted him from the party.
Really?
She's quoted as saying that. We're not sure if it's true. But okay, have a stab at a guess at her legacy. She's education secretary.
She brings something in that, like, we're still using. Is that like?
She
did she invent standardized testing?
No, she didn't. No, she didn't. She improved a sector in Russia, in the Russian education system.
Was it like a level? Was it like secondary, primary, like a?
It was in general. It applies to all levels of education.
I don't know. Was it like availability of books and stuff? I don't know.
You're very close.
What was it?
She's responsible for improving library services.
Oh, Lenin's wife was a librarian.
Yeah, because she was like, I'm trying to remember who it was she was very influenced by. But, I want to say Victor Hugo, but that's not right. No, it's Tolstoy. It was Leo Tolstoy. Sorry, I confused Victor Hugo and Leo Tolstoy in my... Yeah, I'm just checking, sorry.
Yeah.
Just checking the mic's
still working.
But yeah, she's responsible for making the libraries work.
So, in summary, Lenin, the son of an Ofsted inspector, in just chronological order.
Yeah.
His dad is really good at stamping out Lenins.
Yes.
So good that they give him a massive house.
Yes.
Lenin is born.
Yes.
His dad dies at 15. His brother is also killed at around that time.
Yes.
Lenin
Is radicalized.
is radicalized. No, first sues some peasants during a famine. We must not forget. Then gets radicalized. I presume. I don't think Bolshevik Lenin.
No, he didn't sue. He didn't sue the peasant family age 15, did he?
I don't know.
No, he was a lawyer by that point, which means that he was already radicalized.
Okay, so Bolshevik Lenin sued peasants. My God.
Yeah.
So he is so good at school that Alexander Kerensky's dad gives him a gold medal in front of the entire school, aged about 18.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to university. It's so problematic they won't let him do his exams, which is honestly my dream right now.
But his mother has
But
enough.
his mum is so rolling in it that he gets to do them in another. He gets mitigating circumstances.
Basically, yeah.
And then he sues some peasants, gets kicked out to the Lenin River, gets forcibly married to a woman who it turns out he likes, gets thrown away to France, gets hit by a time traveller in a Honda Civic, sues them as well, doesn't get uncovered, goes to Switzerland, has his wife's thyroid fixed, gets sent back to Germany, gets sent through Germany on a train during the First World War, gets in charge, and his wife improves libraries.
Yes.
That was the story of Lenin.
You don't need to know anything else.
That's the only important bit, because you all know the rest. This is the whole point of the show.
The whole point of the show is that we tell you irrelevant stuff that you'll never be able to use again.
No, you will
However,
use it again.
at the dinner party.
Once,
Yeah.
And everyone will be like, what an interesting fact. And then no one will ever mention it again.
What did I call it?
Are you looking for the list?
Yeah. Did I send it to you?
I'm gonna do a this is a historiographical
If I didn't save
thing
it,
for the Russian Revolution. There is a man called Orlando Figes.
Okay.
And Orlando Figes, Google him, okay? I'm going to show Emily a picture of his face.
Oh,
He's
wow.
really intense.
Wow.
And Orlando Figes is like an expert in the Russian Revolution. He is like a genius level historian. But what was happening is that there were reviews being published on other historians' books that were slating them like massively. It was really, really rude. But also it was like a really high level of technical knowledge that only like a high level historian could have done. And eventually they worked out that it was Orlando Figes that was like leaving reviews on other historians' books, just slating them. And when he was confronted by it, by like the academic community at large, he was like, "Oh no, it's not. My wife is writing these. I am not writing these."
Wow, that's really throwing her under the bus.
It's clearly him, but he was just like, no, my wife is also an expert in the Russian Revolution and has been leaving reviews on other people's books.
Where did I save it? If I've deleted the whole 100-person list, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
What are we going to do? Well, what will happen is that you will never know that...
Well, explain what it was. Explain what it was to
Well,
the
yeah,
people.
okay. So basically how we thought this was going to work is we made a list of 100 historical figures, which we tried to get some breadth on, from all bits of history, all bits of the world, all bits, etc., etc. And then we were going to spin a wheel at the start and at the end of each episode, and that would be the person for the next episode. And we thought that would be fun. And so we did it before, and we got Lenin. And if I'm honest, of the 100 people we could have picked, Lenin was a bold start. But
yeah, well, I mean, the good news, people, is that I can't find it. Did
Emily
I email it
has
to you?
lost. No, you didn't. Emily has lost the list of 100 people.
Oh.
So next episode, you'll find out as we find out, I imagine, because we'll have come up with something.
Yes. Yes, we'll have to rewrite that list.
Well, yeah.
That funky list. Oh, I'm so annoyed with myself.
God damn it. That was
Oh,
it was
I'm
100 people.
I know, we have to think of them all over again.
I've got one. Lenin.
Lenin. We're doing Lenin again.
We're doing Lenin. Episode 2. More Lenin.
Well, we might get freaky and do a bit of Trotsky at the same time. Who knows?
We're not doing anyone in the Russian Revolution again.
No, not for a while.
We're gonna have a break.